You are listening to Peak One Sports.
All right. Welcome, everyone, and what is up? It is this week's episode of the Sports Page, and I am Dan Boyer, a.k.a. Neon Super Shrimp, joined as always by Ashton Nix. Boom, I nailed it. I pointed to the right side this week. Nailed it.
I'm not even going to attempt to do that.
We're getting better every day.
1%.
What's going on, man? How's your week been?
Man, it's been long. It's been tiring. Getting barely any sleep because of these Mavs and Stars games. Although they're not going all that late because they start pretty early now.
Yeah, no, I mean, is there a better reason to stay up a little later than usual, though? Up until last night, the Mavericks have just been killing it, and these Stars games are competitive. I mean, they're not blowout games by any means. So, Stars game actually in the smack middle of it right now, about a little over. It's close to 9 minutes in the second period, all tied up 2-2. But we'll keep giving periodic updates on that as we talk Stars, Mavs, Rangers. We got some other small topics to talk about this week, but before we jump into it, we'll go ahead and shout out these partners and sponsors of ours. Ashton, where do you get your betting help?
Man, I try not to bet with my gut. I did last night. Unfortunately, I realized I had a few bucks on my sleeper app. Didn't plan on it. Didn't have time to run. And I mean, the game was about to start. Didn't have time to get on betalytics.com. So I made some bets. Went 2 for 4. Kyrie and Luka kind of screwed me a little bit. But I shouldn't bet with my gut. Neither should you. You should go check out Betalytics and get help making your picks using their AI algorithms and use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off. When you sign up today, go to betalytics.com to start betting smarter.
Hell yeah, bet smarter. Don't bet with your gut.
I should know that.
As always, we like to shout out our favorite dog trainer here in the Cleburne, Texas area. The Dapper Dog Academy stands out as a top-notch canine training institute. Owner-trainer Korri Bennett has nearly 10 years experience helping your canine companions become the best versions of themselves with personalized training programs tailored to suit your pup's unique personality and needs. Korri is committed to helping your pet reach their full potential. Reach Korri at the Dapper Dog Academy on Facebook and schedule your consultation today. We're actually getting ready to go visit Ashton and his puppers this week.
Yeah, this Friday we're going to start some private lessons for my golden retriever, and hopefully
he's
a little bit of improvements. Yeah,
he's a good boy. Yeah, he's just a little rough around the edges. He's a puppy, so he just he needs a little instruction. And to be honest, one of my favorite things about the whole dog training thing that Korri does is not only does she help train your dog, but she also helps to train you as a dog owner. In how to kind of properly handle your dog and praise them and even the negative reinforcement that you need sometimes to help kind of correct a lot of that behavior. But yeah, Ashton, are you drinking one this week with me or is it just me?
No, I got it. I'm drinking my Dubby energy drink. It's actually one of the hydro packs. I guess there's not really energy in this one, but I'm out of the energy packs. You got to order some more. If you are looking for a superior energy drink to replace those inferior caffeinated beverages, Dubby contains 0 sugar, 0 maltodextrin, 0 fillers, 0 artificial colors or dyes, and 0 proprietary blends. It's the coffee fruit extract that's the star of this beverage, helping you focus and energize without the jitters or crash. Order Dubby today using promo PEAK1 and enjoy 10% off your order today. You can look in the description box below. It should have the link to the W website.
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this W compared to the other energy drinks and things like that I've been drinking in the past.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm also trying to find this. Here it is. I found it. Okay. So, just as we're going to kind of talk about the Stars game and everything, it looks like we just had a penalty here.
Trying to stay focused, yeah. I keep looking at the Stars game.
Yeah.
We're trying. We know you're watching the Stars game.
Yeah, looking like a Stars power play about to start up. But we just wanted to shout out to the Stars DJ. Man, I feel bad. I'm already dropping his name. I just texted to you too. Jonathan.
It's Shippy.
Shipman, that's it. Yeah, Shippy. Just wanted to shout out. I feel so bad about it. I meant to write it down, and I literally just looked it up earlier, and I forgot to put it in my notes here. But wanted to shout out to Stars DJ Jonathan Shipman for kind of doing the right thing. Really just doing his own thing, and what he usually does after games is he plays the opponent's victory song, and in the process he played La Bamba at the end of was it the game 3 victory for the Stars?
Yeah. And Edmonton Oilers fans were so upset about that.
Very, very upset about it. To be honest, I didn't know the backstory to the song either, but apparently the Edmonton Oilers had a security person that sat outside their locker room. I believe he had Down syndrome, who pretty famously would sing this song constantly. And so it kind of became a team song for them. I believe he's retired now, but they continue playing it. And then they also have a young man who just passed away in 2022 from a rare form of cancer that was a big fan and kind of demanded the playing of La Bamba after victories. So that's kind of where it was born. And Shippy, along with myself, honestly, didn't even realize that that song had a much deeper meaning for the Oilers than kind of just being their victory song at the end of games. So he did the right thing. He went and donated to the Young Man's Foundation, the Ben Stelter Foundation, and in the process, Stars fans have followed suit and have. The last I heard and read, amongst us and everything was DFW fans have raised over $20,000 for the foundation as of this evening. So hey, what's going on, Kenny? So yeah, we just want to give a shout out to Shippy for kind of taking kind of a poor situation and making it a much better situation. It would have been real easy to just kind of ignore this and kick it under the rug and just shrug your shoulders and say you didn't know any better. But to turn it into the situation that it's become with all the money raised for the foundation and everything, just good on you, man. Way to make not just yourself, not just the Stars, but like the whole DFW Metroplex look like much better people than I feel like sometimes we get credit for. Oh no, Edmonton just scored. 5.5 minutes left in the second here. Edmonton leads 2-3 now. But so shout out to Shippy for doing the right thing. I think it's a great story and a great turnaround for, making a mistake. We all do it. We're all human, and to not only like man up and accept responsibility for what happened and accepting that, but also to do the right thing yourself and even encourage others to follow suit. Just a really a stand-up thing you could do. Really, really great guy. Oh man,
that's not nice.
Did Edmonton score on the shorthand on that? Because I hate when that happens.
Yeah, they
we
just
can talk a little bit
about
the Stars game on Monday a little bit while we kind of keep an extra eye on Edmonton just scored a second.
Just scored again?
Yep, less than a minute after that goal. And it's now 2-4.
Speaking of quick goals, that's what happened Monday night. Scored 3 goals in 3 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah, I have that written down here too. Jason Robertson gets his first playoff hat trick of his career, scoring 3 goals in 3 minutes 33 seconds after their slow first period start, giving up 2 goals to Edmonton in that first. And then that was the fastest 3 goals the Stars have scored since they've come to Texas.
In the playoffs, yes.
Yeah, since 1994. Yeah, in the playoffs, right. But, man, I mean, it was a real quick turnaround. The downside being that they gave up a third goal to Edmonton in like that last minute of the second period. We ended up heading into that third period basically 0-0. So I mean, to be honest, it was cool in the sense that like I would have preferred the Stars to have a 1-goal lead going into that third period, but it was cool in the sense that like you knew that third period was going to be just gritty. You know, like you knew you were going to see some hits, some shots. You know, and I mean it turned into a really good game after that slow first.
And strategically, you think, I mean, sure, you'd rather have the 1-goal lead, but that second intermission, what you're talking about, it's definitely a lot more beneficial to you on the end that you need to score a goal than it is you need to protect the lead. So looking back, hindsight, it would have been a completely different strategy in that third period if the Stars would have been up 1 goal.
For sure.
So who knows? And then Edmonton would have been the exact same way. They would have been down 1 goal and probably would have been even more gritty. So
no, you're totally right.
You always want to. I mean, you would always pick to go into intermission up 1 goal. You know,
right? Yeah, I mean, you would rather, but I mean, the upside as a fan for playoff hockey and everything was you knew you were going to get a real good period out of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, actually, the Florida Panthers, right? Yeah. Managed to beat New York Rangers and tied up their series 2-2. So they got a Game 5 coming tomorrow. And man, we've talked a lot about Game 5s. I was saying this to you earlier as well. I'd really like to see the Stars come out of this game against Edmonton tonight with a victory, just because, like how much we've talked about over the last few weeks, like just how important a Game 5 is, especially in a tied up 2-2 series. That Game 5 carries a lot of weight, at least statistically, as far as who wins the series. So, we're definitely going to see that out of the Rangers and Florida tomorrow. Hopefully Stars. Hopefully the Stars can find another gear. I'd like to think they'd get another goal before heading into the third period, but it feels like we haven't been getting as many shots as I'd like to see us taking. I don't know if we're just not necessarily being as aggressive as maybe we could be, but it definitely even after was it Game 2? I think it was. Dallas scored that first goal and everything, and I mean, they were shooting 1,000 1-on-1. But they didn't get like another shot on goal for the longest time. I feel like Edmonton managed to put up like 10 shots by the time Dallas had 4.
Yeah, they're scoring a lot of goals in spurts. I mean, obviously we talked about the 3 goals on Monday. Edmonton scores 2 goals in the first period. Here, the Stars score 2 goals in the first period. Now Edmonton scores 2 quick ones here in the second. It's two quick ones, 2 in the first and 2 quick ones in the second. A lot of scoring going on, despite the fact that they're not getting a lot of shots off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about, Kenny. Like that. I mean, even in the NBA, I want to say the statistics say like it's like 82 or 84% or something like that for the winner of Game 5 when you're in a tied 2-2 series. So I mean that Game 5 just carries so much weight when you're all tied up. I mean, honestly, in my mind, I guess I always look at it almost as if the series changes into a best of 3 after that. Man, really, really playing some hard hockey tonight, though. It's a really good game.
Yeah, but if the Stars can win, it's like 90% of the time the team up 3-1 ends up winning the series. So it's a big difference from having a 90% chance to now you have to win game 5 to get it back up to a 79% chance.
Yeah, just to get those stats back on your side. Ottinger's obviously having a little bit of a rough night, not able to tap into the power of the Otter. But I got his goals against here per game at 2.72. He's already given up 4 tonight. Not even through the second period. So a little bit of a rough night for Ottinger, which honestly surprises me. He's been playing pretty damn well. Although I want to say when the playoffs started, his goals against per game was closer to like 2.2, 2.3. And he's obviously up to a 2.72 now. So I guess he's definitely given up, closer to 3 goals a game than 2 lately. This was the big stat I wanted to mention too. The Stars are 6-1 so far on the road in the playoffs so far. So I mean, I feel like they've got a good chance here at finishing this out, even if they don't necessarily do it tonight. Definitely kind of in a rough position, being down 2 goals in the second period here, but I've seen stranger things happen in sports, and 3 goals in 3 minutes is totally doable again. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's still plenty of time in this game. We've seen these comebacks for and against the Stars. Like, it's not a time to panic. Like, I doubt the Stars finish this game with 2 goals, and I doubt Edmonton finishes with 4 goals. There's still a lot of hockey to play.
Still a full period. And I mean, it's not over until the clock buzzes. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. Let's talk a little bit of Rangers right now. Popping off of a 6-game losing streak that they finally ended on Sunday, their last game against the Twins. And today they've beaten Arizona 6-1. Make 3 wins in a row. That's how you start a streak.
Yep.
So we're getting it started.
It's officially a streak when you win 3 in a row.
Yep. And we're still just 3 games down from Seattle. I believe when I was looking, the Astros have actually been playing probably just as badly as the Rangers have been. I think both the Rangers and the Astros are like 4-6 for their last 10 games.
Yeah, the Astros went on a bit of a run, but they've slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, they've definitely cooled off. Korri Seager hit his 8th home run in 8 games. But unfortunately, our batting averages are abysmal. Korri Seager's batting a 260. Our team leader for batting right now is Josh Smith. I think it was Josh Smith last week as well. He's up to a 280, but still the entire team is batting under 280, which I'm never going to be happy with. I would much rather see our averages closer to 300, 320, something like that,
Yeah. And this was an odd game because Marcus Semien got a rest day, which hasn't happened in a couple of years. He hasn't missed a game. Played all 162 last year, including all the games in the playoffs. I think he missed 1 game in 2022. And so this breaks a 300-something game streak he's been playing.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I keep saying it every week. The Rangers are just injuries, it's all these injuries.
They have a lot of they have guys coming back. I know Bradford's looking to come back. He did have a setback.
You
saw Dunning pitch really well today. You have Josh Young on the cusp of coming back a little bit. Wyatt Langford's back. They're starting to get healthy. It's if they can just manage not to put anybody else on the IL. I know Scherzer, his timetable's moved back. I don't even know if they have a goal date for him to be back just because he's having completely different injury, not even part of his, why he's on the IL.
Yeah, I think he started having some back issues. I have here that Scherzer was scheduled to throw a full bullpen session today, but he is still on the 60 DL, so I mean, not expecting to see him before the Olympics, probably, really. But yeah, I mean, like you said, we've got some guys that are, slowly but surely on their way back. Cody Bradford did have a little bit of a setback. I guess he's also on a 60-day DL or IL. Sorry, but for his ribs, John Gray had a setback.
Is coming back pretty soon.
Yeah, John Gray had a setback, so he's going to miss his next start with a mild right groin strain. Then we had Michael Lorenzen, who left Saturday's game with knee cramps, and Jose Urania left Friday's game with swelling in his lower left leg. So
Lorenzen, I want to say that was a day game because I believe I was at a restaurant eating lunch or something.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
So, and I couldn't, they didn't have the audio playing, but I could just watch the game, and I just saw Lorenzen, Bochy, an umpire, and then whoever their trainer is watching him pitch. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is just getting ridiculous. I don't know if it's something in the water in Texas because Houston's dealing with a lot of, not near to the extent, but they're dealing with injuries as well. And luckily the Rangers are, kind of bad. They did have that 6-game losing streak, but they're kind of fiddling around 500 right now. And
27,
which I guess is, I don't know. You're able to kind of keep treading water, keep your head not quite above water yet, but you're able to kind of stay there. And maybe if you can avoid getting more injuries, you bring some of these guys back, then maybe you can make a run, because luckily nobody else in the AL West is doing anything great. You're only a few games back to Seattle. Still
and really, that's what I was.
Houston.
Yeah, really, that's even what I was going to say too. Is even though we're only hitting,
we're getting there, Kenny. Calm down.
280 out of our best. Well, not even our best. It's Josh Smith. I feel like that's part of what's aggravating to look at this too. Is it's like not even our best players are hitting their best right now. Like I said, Seager's 260. I want to say Adolis is like a 240 or something like that. He's not doing great. But I think the thing that's actually bothering us the most right now is our pitching. I was kind of looking over this. I didn't get the actual numbers. I didn't crunch the actual numbers here. But if you kind of look over the games and everything, our opponents are averaging 4+ runs when the Rangers lose. Yeah. So we're giving up a fair number of runs in these games. I'd like to think that our bats could get going a little bit better to help keep that be more competitive. But to be honest, this is more of a pitching issue than it is our hitting issue. I'd like to see our pitchers hopefully get a little more command and be able to help the hitters get it going a little bit more.
You hate to use it as an excuse. You have so many injuries. You can only do so much.
Right. But, hopefully with, like Eovaldi coming back, hopefully Scherzer doesn't suffer any more setbacks and everything. We can get this pitching rotation back, kind of in line with what we need them to be. But like you said, too, at least the AL West is so non-competitive right now. We're only 3 games back from Seattle. We're still definitely within striking distance of, first in our division. So it's definitely not like a time to panic. I think we just need to try and keep maintaining as best as we can the way we're playing. Obviously, wins are better than losses, but you can only do so much when you're this injury riddled and you have a roster like we have. So just got to keep plugging away one game at a time. And 162 is a long way away. We're only 55 games in, 60 games in almost. So still plenty of baseball to be played. Hopefully we just don't suffer too many more injuries or anything throughout the season. Get our pitching rotation back and make a real drive at this come I guess, post All-Star break.
Yeah. Kenny Kenny's over here.
Kenny,
Angel Hernandez.
We can jump into Angel Hernandez, finally retiring, announced late Monday evening. My man Angel Hernandez wanted to make sure that he made the announcement himself, told the world that he loved being an umpire since 1991, and not a single person is singing his praises. I think all of MLB kind of let out a sigh of relief. I feel like there were a lot of finalies exclaimed at the announcement. He wanted to make sure it was known, that he was not kicked out of Major League Baseball or anything, but he was definitely bribed to quit midseason, in my opinion. MLB definitely put the money together to convince him to leave early. What were your thoughts on this, Ashton?
Yeah, I mean, don't get it wrong. MLB paid that as a PR situation. As bad as you want to think, he was bad. He wasn't the worst. He was. Well, I mean, he made there were some pretty. He was part of some pretty big controversial calls for sure, but I think it was easy because everybody knows Angel Hernandez, and they wanted to. I think it was, hey, we're picking off low hanging fruit. It was easy to make fun of him. It was easy to share. Like, there were bad. Like, I was on a different baseball podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about. This was before this announcement, obviously, but they were talking about other umpires and just how bad some of these calls were. I want to say it was the Brewers. I can't remember the other team, but it was a horrendous call. Worst thing I've ever seen, almost. Maybe recency bias, but definitely worse than a lot of Angel Hernandez calls. But you didn't see a lot about it. There weren't people sharing it because it wasn't Angel Hernandez. I'm sure there were people sharing it. It just wasn't going viral or whatever. Algorithms weren't picking it up because it wasn't saying Angel Hernandez, Going back to some of the independent percentages on how, good or bad it is. I know we've seen some of them. Those are metrics taken by random people, because there's an independent that does it from the umpires, and they don't release it till the end of the season. So you can go back to past seasons, but there's nothing official for this season other than some people like going back, rewatching it. And again, I mean, trust what they want. I think Angel Hernandez is the numbers, I believe, show that he's slightly below average on how good he is. So he's obviously not one of the better ones. And I think MLB was like, every time Angel Hernandez makes even a slightly bad call, you're getting memes, you're getting pictures, you're getting videos. And I'm not really trying to defend him. I think he was definitely bad. It was fun to do a lot of this, but I think umpiring is a tough position to be in, because nobody knows who you are if you're doing a good job. You know who does, you know him because he's doing a bad job.
I mean, I totally agree. I just happen to have a few of the stats here. Hernandez was ranked in the 22nd percentile in accuracy and the 12th percentile in accuracy above expected. So I mean, definitely not great. I definitely agree with you in the sense that man, umpiring it's a tough gig. When you're doing a good job, nobody praises you for it. When you're doing a bad job, though, everyone will let you know. Absolutely, everyone will do it. Unfortunately, the inconsistency that Angel Hernandez has kind of become known for over his career. I mean, the guy's been in it since 1991. He's 62, if I remember correctly. I mean, he's been doing this for a while, and I mean, good on him for getting to live out his dream as a major league umpire and everything like that. I wish him the best, but in all honesty, as a baseball fan, I don't feel like I'm gonna miss him when all we've been wanting is more consistency out of our umpires. And to be honest, what I think is a little funny about this is this feels like an MLB response to fans. I feel like we even spent a couple of podcasts talking about the inaccuracy of umpires and just how bad that first month of April was this season. And
they're all bad. I mean,
and I think baseball's done a great job up to this point of trying to make the game like better and more appealing to its fans. Instituting the pitch clock and everything. I mean, obviously it ruffled some feathers, but ultimately I have to agree that it's kind of good for the game. Baseball games no longer last 3 to 4 hours. They last about 2.5, and that's much more reasonable and manageable as a fan to like want to watch a 2.5 hour game versus, a 4-hour game. I don't know. This feels like MLB's kind of reaction to fans being like, oh, inaccurate umpires, and they're like, well, maybe we like get rid of the worst or whatever. Well, and maybe hopefully it gets the other umpires to tighten up their game a bit and whatever. I mean, Angel Hernandez, like I said before, he definitely didn't get kicked out. He didn't get fired. He was basically bribed to retire early mid-season. So I mean, MLB like made it worth his while, but they definitely, I feel like, or I'd like to think anyway, that they did this for the fans to try and combat some of the bad calls that are coming from umpires, things like that. So I say good riddance. I agree with you in the sense that he may not necessarily be like the worst umpire ever, but he's definitely bad in my opinion.
Umpires they're in a bad position right now because they're not getting trained anymore to call balls and strikes the correct way. Because where do you get umpires from? They move up from minor league baseball, just the same as players. Minor league baseball right now, they don't have to call correct. They're not working hard to call correct balls and strikes, because in minor league baseball, the player can tap his helmet if he disagrees with the call, and they're going to go to the robot, whatever you want to call it. They're going to go review it, and then they get the call right. So they were being told, minor league umpires, is you don't have to worry about getting the call right on balls and strikes. So newer umpires are moving up into Major League Baseball, not being trained correctly, which would be fine if you had that same rule in Major League Baseball, which I think we're going to. I think they should you can keep the umpires, just don't have them call balls and strikes. Because we didn't know. We weren't keeping these accurate stats before we had the technology to see if it was right, because really it's players have different strike zones. Umpires call it differently. So you've kind of left the room for error in there, thinking, well, that's just there. As long as they're calling it consistent, that doesn't matter. But now that we have the technology that we're basing it off of saying they're accurate, they're inaccurate, they're whatever, this is their score, because we can see the correct call, whether it's a ball or a strike. But if you already have the technology, just implement it already.
No, I totally agree.
I guess there's purist or whatever, but I think implementing a pitch clock is way worse from a purist standpoint than just letting a camera tell you. Have it in his helmet too, or in his earpiece, whatever, and the umpire can still say ball or strike. Right. He's just not making the decision.
No, I 100% agree with that. And to be honest, too, I feel like if you set up some kind of like radar laser system where, pitchers are throwing their balls and strikes, and that's what gives the umpire the call and whatever, I personally think that would be awesome to see, just because like now we're going to, with that kind of thing implemented, we would start seeing some real skilled throws. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about guys who are going to be able to like paint the corner just enough to get the ball to hit the laser and call it a strike, even though it's in a terrible hitting position. You know what I mean?
And I think like framing pitches will go away to an extent.
Yeah, to an
where you can really fool an umpire on that. The umpire has no clue from his point of view. Like, you frame a pitch really well, he's going to call it a strike every time. It doesn't matter. And I think if you have sensors and cameras and whatever goes into this, you don't have to worry about, hey, how good your catcher is at framing affects how good your pitcher's statistics are. Yeah. Which it should really be, which is part of the game, but it should really be how good your pitcher is. And then you're right, they'll have it'll take a few years, but pitchers will start developing into that to react to it, to start painting the quarters, to start actually pitching instead of, okay, I'm gonna get it close, but I need you to frame it and to get it up there.
Right. No, and I mean, I totally, because I remember when I played baseball, I played a little catcher, and it was a big deal trying to frame pitches as best you can. And I mean, don't get me wrong, because I remember being taught it was for two reasons. Number one, you bring your glove back so you're in a better ready position, so you can grab the ball and throw it if you need to for, a stealing or whatever. But I mean, the obvious other reason is to kind of trick the umpire into thinking the ball was right down the middle, like that's where you caught it, and I don't know, like I can appreciate the skill that it takes for a catcher to be able to do that and to even, be able to have the ball ready to transfer and make a throw or whatever he needs to do. But I would really much rather see like pitcher skill pitching, I guess, is almost how I want to phrase it, in the way that they would just be able to like literally start painting corners or just get the edge of the strike zone, and it's it's called a strike properly, because I mean they touch the zone, so I mean we'll see what happens. I totally meant to say this when you threw up Kenny's comment there, with Hernandez screwing the pooch 50% of the time. Last season, Hernandez didn't work his first game until August, in which time he missed 161 calls in his first 10 games, which is outrageous.
Yeah, considering you're seeing probably what 250 pitches a game if you're just kind of throwing out there
16 of them wrong.
Yeah,
per game. That's a lot, man. It's a lot. So, I mean, I say good riddance. He put in a long career. It was well over time for him to retire. 30 years is plenty behind the plate. Thanks for everything you did, or didn't do, or didn't see, whatever it is. Yeah, not gonna miss you, especially after that terrible game with who was it? The Rangers and the Orioles, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Wyatt Langford. During that stretch, Wyatt Langford saw the most pitches that were balls called strike during that time, and it was mostly Angel Hernandez. So shout out, appreciate it. Helping the Rangers not amount to what we want them to.
Yeah, they have plenty of injuries. They can't be.
We agree.
Can't be dealing with that as much. Goodbye, Hernandez.
Bye. Super glad.
Nobody will hurt
that he is gone.
Nobody will hurt you anymore. He's gone. The bad man is gone.
It wasn't soon enough, like, and honestly, I guess it makes me laugh too, in the sense that like it feels like it took a lot of uproar this season, and just a lot of like just fans being upset about the amount, and again, not just Angel Hernandez, but across the board, just bad umpiring, balls and strikes, and all that thing.
Social media plays a big part of that, where you just,
I'm sure.
Sharing posts, it's not just people complaining, it's like you're seeing it right there. You're seeing the calls one after another, and I know if you take out all the good calls or all the okay calls and just leave the bad calls, it does seem like there's a lot more. But I mean, social media is playing a different role in sports now,
for sure. Absolutely. And I mean, whatever, again, he wasn't fired, he wasn't kicked out of the MLB. He says he wants to spend more time with his family anyway, and MLB paid him to go do it. Enjoy your time off, man. I know we will.
I mean, if I got grilled relentlessly on social media for the job I did, I'd probably do something
I feel like
similar.
I would have quit so long ago.
Yeah.
There's no way that he can watch ESPN during baseball season, right?
I don't know if he's prevalent on social media, but I'd have to get off. I couldn't do this. Yeah.
I mean, he is 62. I don't know how much social media he's actually involved with, but yeah, no, it would be the worst, right? Just everybody, just no one's. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything nice about. Of course, that keeps taking me back to like your comment. Like now that I think about it, I don't think I've heard anybody really say anything nice about any umpire. In fact, I had this conversation a few years back with my cousin and her baby daddy, and we were talking, and he was telling me, do you remember that perfect game that was stolen from the Tigers?
Yes.
Back in like 2015 or something.
It seems like it was longer than that, but yeah,
it might have been, to be honest. But anyway, the only reason I happen to remember the umpire's name for this is because he was telling me that like in Detroit, it's pretty common to like use his name as like a slang term, and so it was Jim Joyce. Yeah. And if you get like screwed or whatever in Detroit, they say, "Oh, you got joiced."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what an awful way to go down in history. You know what I mean? Like so bad, so remembered, in fact, in Detroit, that they use your name as like freehand for insulting someone. Like,
but you can't name a good umpire though.
But yeah, but I couldn't name you like one that people are like, oh, he's great. Like what a good umpire. Like he's consistent. You know.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So I mean, you almost feel bad for him. I don't though. It's the name of the game. It's the job. You get paid. I mean,
I think umpires are hated on a little more, most officiating, but I think in professional sports, officiating has their own, what do you call it? Their own union. They don't have to deal with it. That's why the MLB can't just fire these guys. NFL, and I know NFL and MLB for sure, they can't just fire the guys. I mean, they have their own union.
I'm not positive, but I think the refs are part of the NFLPA, aren't they?
Well, that's what the NFLPA is. It's I don't know if they're
that's
part
what
of
I'm saying.
Like
like the same representation that the players.
That's it's the same thing we saw, 10 years ago or whatever when the refs were holding out and they had to get the replacement refs. It's the same deal.
Yeah, man, that was a wild time too. I remember watching that Eagles game when they were chanting like "F you, ref," and they couldn't bleep it out on TV. They definitely wanted to. Cover it up, but they couldn't. I mean, it's a whole stadium. How do you ignore them? The Stars game still kicking off. 17 minutes left in the third. Stars still down 2-4. We'll just keep trucking along here. Let's talk these Mavericks. Got a game 5 coming tomorrow after the Mavericks dropped that game 4 after a 3-0 lead. Not terribly upset at the loss. It wasn't like a huge blowout. They didn't get their asses kicked or anything. 105-100.
They were playing. They were off and playing pretty poorly and little spurts. So the fact that they were in it to the end. I mean, I am disappointed when Luka, got fouled on that 3-pointer. That's a Luka magic play, and then he goes and misses the free throw. I don't know that it made a big difference, but it would change it like to a 2-point game, and then you're and then
honestly, I thought the same thing. It had to be in his head too, right? It's like, oh, you can make this crazy 3, but you can't make an unblocked free throw.
Yeah, and then when the refs went and reviewed at the very end to see if there was still time left after the ball hit out of bounds when they're down 5. And so they decided to put 0.2 seconds back on the clock, and they're like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, right. It was like, why?
And the Mavs didn't really try to do anything. They just, you can't officially score with less than 0.4 seconds, anyways.
Yeah, no. At that point, it had kind of been. If it would have been 3 points or something, that's different. You try and make that shot.
You could have tried to, piss off a couple
there's really not enough time.
Piss off a couple of Timberwolves players, maybe get a technical or something, get it down to 3 or something. But either way, there was only 0.2 seconds. You'd had to get fouled.
Yeah.
For that to really work. I thought that was funny. But,
and I want to say it takes a minimum of like 0.4 to inbound and shoot.
That's official is 0.4 seconds. Unless you're going for like an alley-oop and you tip it in or something. But to catch and shoot is 0.4 seconds.
Right.
I believe they've scored on 0.3 seconds before if they, throw it up to the goal as a guy's going up there and he kind of just taps it in or whatever. I think you could do that, but that's very difficult to do when the other team knows that's what's coming.
Right, and really that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, we're talking 0.3 if that's like the record for like the fastest inbound and score. I mean, 0.2 is just it's not going to cut it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and you know, when your two superstars are having an off night, a down night, it's and you only lose by 5. I guess that's good. I mean, it's hard to say Luka had a down night when you scored. Was it 28 point triple double? But you could still tell he was off a little bit, just by percentage.
It was definitely an off night for both of them. Just throwing these stats out real quick. Kyrie Irving 6 for 18, 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. Luka 7 for 21 and 4 for 11 from 3-point. Combined, they were 13 for 39 and 5 for 17 from 3-point. So they were shooting 33% field goals. So I mean, combined, they were having an off night, and to lose by 5 when Luka and Kyrie are having a down night like that. And I mean, and then to be honest, Washington also having an off night. He was only 3 for 13, 2 for 9 from 3. So I mean, those 3 combined having like an off night, which is kind of inexcusable in my opinion, especially at this level in the playoffs and everything. It just can't really happen, especially if we're talking about going to play the Celtics in the finals next. But considering that we still only lost one of those
5 3-pointers, it's
exactly right.
Yeah. So I mean, it goes. It's not like, well, if this would have happened and this would have happened. I mean, it would have been different. And yeah, they just. I mean, with Luka being hurt, whatever's wrong with his knee. We just need to go ahead and close it out tomorrow to get a week off before the finals start. And
finals are already set to start June 6th, so next Thursday.
Whereas most rounds will start when both teams are selected. The finals are going to start. Doesn't matter if Mavs would have won last night; it still wouldn't have started till next Thursday.
Right. Honestly, the big thing in this game for me. Aside from the fact that I'm not worried about a game where the Mavs only lose by 5 when they're, you know, for the sake of argument, 3 stars just weren't playing very well. I really would have liked to have seen the Mavs continue to attack the Timberwolves in the paint in the second half. They had managed to put the Timberwolves into like pretty severe foul trouble just before halftime. Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns were both at 3 fouls before halftime with I think 2 minutes, minute and a half left in the half. So they were already in like significant foul trouble. The Mavs continued to dish out a lot and take a lot of threes. You know, normally if you've got the lead and you're shooting better than you were last night, I don't have a problem with that strategy. But considering the fact that they were in the foul trouble that they were in, I would have liked to have seen the Mavs come out and be a little more physical in that second half, like that beginning of the third quarter, just to try and get, you know, another foul, maybe even 2 out of these guys, and just keep them in that tough foul position, you know. But they didn't really seem to do that. I'm not now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even sure Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns fouled out in the end, you know. So that's about the one
Karl Anthony
critical
Towns
thing.
Did foul?
Did he?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
I think it was. Yeah, it was on that crazy 3-pointer. No, that foul was by Edwards.
Was that Edwards?
The crazy.
Yeah. On that 3, yeah.
But yeah, the Karl Anthony Towns did foul out on a foul on Luka. I think he pump faked. I think it was a 3-pointer. Yeah, he pump faked him and then jumped into him, and then he made the 3 shots. So it was kind of like a double whammy for the Timberwolves because Luka got 3 shots, and Karl Anthony Towns fouled out.
Yeah, so that's about the only thing I feel like I would have liked to have seen different out of them. But again, I don't expect Kyrie and Luka to combine for 33% shooting again. That's a pretty down night. And I mean, Minnesota was also shooting really well. I happen to have their numbers written here too. They were 52.7 for field goals, 45.8 from 3. which is obviously better than Dallas's 42 and 35. So, I mean,
Cat was making a lot of threes down the stretch. He was kind of cute. Like when the Mavs would kind of make it down to a one possession game, he'd shoot a three and extend
that was the big thing for the Mavs, is they really kept playing back into it and getting within 2 or 3, maybe even like a point or something. And then they would knock down a 3 and put it right back to 4 or 5, and so they definitely managed to kind of keep us at arm's length there in the late fourth. They played well. I think this was more about the Mavs just not necessarily making their shots and not playing as well as they had been in the previous 3 games.
And Derek Lively being out is obviously a factor as well. You had Kleba back, but I think it's going to take him some time to get back into it.
Yeah. So not worried. In fact, I would imagine you're still going to have to give Kenny his jersey when the Mavs win tomorrow night.
I will be happy to do it. I already have one picked out. It's the Gold City Edition jerseys,
nice.
I believe from last year, and it's going to be a custom. You got to send me, Kenny, let me know your jersey size. I already checked it out. I can put your number. I can put Reckless on it.
Nice.
It's gonna just need your size, and as soon as the Mavs clinch tomorrow, I will order it.
Get that sent.
Yeah, because I mean, you still feel good about everything, but I think if you can't finish it off tomorrow, then there it is, 2XL. I got you. If you can't clinch it tomorrow, then the pressure really gets on you. I mean, statistically, you're still probably going to win being up 3-2, but I think going from 3-0 to 3-2 loses a lot of momentum and puts a lot of pressure on you, especially a team who's never been to the finals. This team hasn't been to the finals outside of Carmelo Anthony. Where am I? Kyrie Irving. Outside of Kyrie Irving, you haven't been to the finals.
Yeah, no playoff veterans.
Luka being, getting the judgment that most NBA stars get, where he's being judged now is what does he do in the playoffs? What is this would be a choke job. I don't know that Luka feels that pressure, but as a team, you're going to feel that pressure if you can't finish it off, and just take care of business. I mean, that's how quite a few end up. You gave up 1. That's okay. You lost by 5. I don't think anybody's going to complain. They feel like you should have won it because you were up 3-0. But if you would have told me before the series started you're going into Game 5 up 3-1, I'd take it all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of, building on that a little, for obvious reasons, especially with the Celtics having blown out the Pacers, it would have been nice for the Mavs to win that Game 4 and get the extra time off. But
get the equal rest.
Yeah, but kind of like we're both saying here, I don't think this is anything to worry about. I do like what you said as far as statistically, when you're up in the series 3-0, you're the team that wins. You know what I mean? Even if you manage to give up Game 4, maybe Game 5. But I agree with you in the sense that you're up 3-0, and it's so incredibly unlikely and improbable that the other team manages to win. But man, they start with that 1 win, and they build a little momentum, and then they get that second win. And after that second win, after that Game 5 win, in my opinion, that's when I agree with you. That's when you need to start to worry. That's when this team has built something. They start putting something together. They're not the team you're going to kind of roll over that you probably should have in Game 4, maybe even Game 5. So I'm with you. I really hope the Mavs just shut them down and get the extra time for rest in this next game. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't feel like I've seen it out of the Timberwolves. And to be honest, one of the things I've really enjoyed about the way the Mavs have been playing really this whole playoff series is they haven't been coming out ready to just blow out their opponent. They've almost literally been playing these games where they're just trying to keep the score close until that fourth quarter, and then they ball their heart out, just everything they got for that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and every game of the series they've trailed with under 5 minutes to go at some point. So that worries you too, whereas like every game has been close. It just kind of fell the Mavs' way. Statistically, when you're up 3-0, you've probably dominated the other team, and that's really not the case here. So that's why there's a little bit of worry, but it was the same deal last night. I think the dominoes fell towards Minnesota because it was a very close game. They had struggles on their own end too, being in foul trouble. Most of their stars being in foul trouble most of the game. So they played differently. So that's something you have to take into account. Like, I think this series is different than most series you look at when teams are up 3-0. Whereas every single game has been close. Every single one of these games have been close, and I expect nothing else. I mean, you're going to go into a hostile crowd that they didn't know if their team was going to come back and play another game. Yeah. Now, you played a team that was desperate, that had their backs against the wall. I think you can only play that so many times. I mean, you saw how frustrated they were being down 3-0 in the form of terrible fouls that ultimately got their team into foul trouble. So I think that's why they're going to be a little more exhausted. It's going to be hard to play that again in Game 5. But this is the key game here. Game 6, I think the Mavericks start to get a little bit desperate. Luckily, Game 6 would be back in Dallas, but you're gonna get in front of a hostile crowd tomorrow night, and hopefully the Mavs can rise up to the occasion, and Luke and Kyrie can be clutch.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, honestly, it puts more pressure on kind of this Game 5, even with a 3-1 lead. You'd like to close it out and everything. I agree, Kenny. Probably easily one of the harder games to. And I think the main reason it's going to be like the hardest game to win is that elimination game. Is just because like that other team does not want to go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not going down without a fight. And I mean, they've almost got more to fight for than the winning team, So I mean,
yeah,
it can be hard to put some of these beasts down. And I mean, I don't expect the Timberwolves to just give it up, especially tomorrow night at home in Minnesota. So I mean, I definitely expect to see another like really good game. I feel like Dallas is just playing really good basketball, though. Also worth mentioning, Dallas had 31 free throws to Minnesota's 17 on yesterday. So, Minnesota's obviously kind of playing a little harder, a little rougher, a little less smartly,
Yeah.
And if Dallas can continue to play smart, keep up, like we were saying, not trying to blow them out in the first quarter or the second quarter. I mean, I think this is a really good team that shouldn't have an issue with this. Now, the hypothetical question I kind of want to pose to you a little bit here is, based on how this series is going, do you think Denver should have beat Minnesota in that Game 7 and would be the better opponent, or at least the harder opponent for Dallas to face right now? Do you think Dallas would be up 3-1 headed to Game 5 against Denver?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't have beaten Denver. I think it'd be more competitive, which is hard to say because, like I said, every game has been competitive.
Right.
But I think the problem here is that, excluding last night, but I mean, they didn't have to lead late. But Kyrie and Luka and the Mavs know how to close out a game, and Timberwolves, until last night, hadn't been able to close out those games. And Denver has experience. I don't think Denver has problems. The same problems closing out the games. I think they'd all still be close games. I think the Mavericks compete, but I think it's probably 2-2 right now, or something similar, because Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, they know how to win. They're champions. They're experienced in this. Minnesota hasn't won anything yet. Just like the Mavericks. I mean, they do have Kyrie Irving, who has won, but. The same reason why I was confident against Oklahoma City is Oklahoma City hasn't had any of that playoff experience. It's a lot of young guys. Kyrie's had that playoff experience. Lucas put the skin on the wall, having a lot of playoff experience and losing. And that's what happens in the NBA is you have to experience losing. LeBron did it. Michael Jordan did it. Dirk for sure has done it. Everybody has experienced losing before they end up winning. And that's why I think has kind of played a factor here where Kyrie and Luka have way more playoff experience than Minnesota, than Oklahoma City. But they don't have more playoff experience than Denver. Denver's just won the championship. They've been in the playoffs, succeeding, moving on, getting deep in the playoffs year after year. That's why I think the Mavericks are going to finish it out tomorrow.
100%.
I think Denver would probably beat the Mavericks. Not that the Dallas didn't have any chance, but I think this is a better matchup for the Mavericks because of that point.
I 100% agree. And honestly, I think it's incredibly astute of you to even basically just note on the playoff experience of these teams. I thought the same thing. Yeah, you like that?
I got to make fun of you a little bit for
your SAT.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered.
Yeah. But, because honestly, I thought the same thing about Oklahoma City. They've got a great team. They're very formidable, very young, plenty of scorers. They are a capable team. Their downfall, in my opinion, was the fact that they just didn't have that playoff experience, that pressure experience of performing in these big games that really, really count for it all. All or nothing. You win or go home. And I think that was a little bit their downfall. Also, to your point, the Mavs have some playoff experience. Like we were saying earlier, Kyrie's really their only playoff veteran on the team. Luka has been here and done this before. He's obviously never won. He's never gone the distance. So having a guy like Kyrie able to talk to him is incredibly invaluable right now, especially if you saw that post-game interview that he was doing where he told Kyrie verbatim, man, I'm tired of shit. And Kyrie's like, that's how it's supposed to be played. And, they managed to, dig deep.
You're not doing something right. If you're not tired right now, you're not doing something right. You're not working hard.
Right. And I was like, man, that, but that's the exact kind of veteran leadership you need. It's this is the playoffs, man. You should be more tired at the end of these games than you are during a regular season game because everybody's fighting. And, honestly, just, not only the comfortability that Luka had to be able to tell his veteran teammate, man, I'm tired, but for that veteran to bounce back and be like, that's how it's supposed to be played, man. Here we go. And just give him that confidence, that reassurance and everything that you're doing everything right. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you're tired, but this is it,
Yeah.
I love it. I love that kind of team chemistry that you have and being able to do that. Now, also to your point too, I agree that if Denver was the team that managed to get through that Game 7 against Minnesota and we were playing them, that would be a much tougher opponent. I agree. If we're headed into Game 5 against them, it's tied at best 2-2 if we're not the team that's down 3-1. Just because have that leadership, that veteran team that that's experienced this, they've done this before. So I'm honestly glad that we got Minnesota over Denver. The rivalry here in my house would have been different if it was Colorado versus Texas
Denver
again.
But
for the sake of the Mavs making it to the finals, I'm glad we got the Timberwolves over the Nuggets for sure.
Yeah, and look at a couple of years ago when the Mavericks made it to the Western Conference Finals. They played Utah, not a lot of playoff experience. I believe the Suns just made it to the finals the year before when they played the Suns. So that was, that was definitely I think that's kind of what transitioned Luka into the more experienced player. It's his third time in the playoffs. He just won a playoff series. I know Brunson had a lot to do with that, big deal with that. And then you grind it out into a 7-game series and you make it past it. But then what happens? You go play the much more experienced Golden State Warriors and just run into a buzzsaw.
Yeah. Sorry,
so
final 3 minutes here of the Stars game, and
still down 4-2.
Dallas hasn't quite pulled their goalie, but yeah, still down 4-2.
Yeah, so maybe we're looking at
looks like they're getting ready to pull their goalie though. 3 minutes.
Looks like we're going to be 2-2 heading into Game 5. I guess would be Friday. Every other day we're looking at, but that would be back in Dallas. So
yeah,
looking forward to that. But
bringing it back to Dallas.
Maybe, I think you can call. I mean, Luka's getting to that veteran status in the playoffs. I mean, you can even go back to his time playing in Europe. I mean, he was playing big time basketball at a very young age. But now you're looking at lose to the Clippers, beat Utah, beat Phoenix, lose to Golden State, beat the Clippers, beat Oklahoma City, and probably beat Minnesota. He's got that veteran status, and I think the series against Boston, not looking too far ahead here, but I think it's going to be a great series.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to move on to.
Boston is
just throwing this out there real quick before you get into it. Celtics absolutely running roughshod through their playoffs, winning 4-1 against the Heat, 4-1 against the Cavs, and then blowing out the Pacers 4-0. So continue, man.
And I know Boston on paper is more talented. They have that veteran experience too, making it to the finals. What was it, a couple of years ago? Yeah. They've been in the Eastern Conference Finals like 3 or 4 times in the last 6 seasons.
They've been very good the last few years.
But you have the same with the players. They haven't won that championship yet. So I think you're gonna, between Brown and Luka, we're going for a championship. Somebody's gonna win their first championship.
Yeah.
And maybe I wouldn't say advantage, but it's definitely a plus for the Mavericks that you have Kyrie there. So I can't think off the top of my head the full Boston roster, but I think if it's Boston and Dallas, Kyrie's the only one who's played in the finals on both rosters. I don't think Boston has anybody that's. Pull it up. I mean, not played in the finals. Like obviously, Boston's team has played in the finals because they were just in the finals a couple of. Right. But I mean, have won a championship. Kyrie's the only one that's won a championship. Because I don't think anybody on Boston has won. At least not significant. They may have some player who happened to be on a roster.
I'm not sure. Kyrie's
the only. Porzingis hasn't won a championship. He played for.
I think
he's played for the Knicks, the Mavericks, the Wizards, and the Celtics. So yeah, he hasn't.
So I don't think he's. Yeah, so you might be right. They've got. I
think Kyrie's the only one who's won a championship,
but not a championship team. Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a great because you have superstars. Like I said, you're judging the NBA by your championships. Like they're holding that against LeBron that he doesn't have as much as MJ. So that's a situation where you have 2 teams, 2 superstars on one major superstar on each side going for their first championship, and this might define their career. If neither team can come back and win a championship, it's going to be their first title, their first ring, and I think it's going to be a great series. I don't envision either of these teams blowing the other one out, and probably similar if Minnesota somehow. I mean, they're going to have a hell of a lot less rest than the Celtics are having if Minnesota can push it to a Game 7 and win. But similar situation where you have Edwards and Cat, they have not won a championship, that they've never been to a championship, that they're hungry too. But I'm really excited about a possible Mavericks Celtics championship series.
I'm super pumped for that. That's exactly who I want to say. That's who I picked when we started talking. Edmonton just empty nettered, so 2-5 now. Less than 2 minutes left in this game, so looking like we're gonna have a 2-2 series, Game 5 coming soon for the Dallas Stars. But I was gonna say, like the Celtics have been playing really well. Like I had said, basically just blowing out their opponents. at least as far as the series are concerned, 4-1, 4-1, 4-0. But especially in this series against the Pacers and everything, like they weren't just like they weren't like blowing out the Pacers or anything. These games were still fairly competitive. The first game went to overtime, I believe. So I definitely think like the Celtics are beatable. I think the Mavs heading in to this finals and playing the Celtics and everything, they've got a chance. I think the best thing that would actually happen for the Mavs to come out on top of these finals, it would be for the Celtics to like relax a little bit too much in these days off, and then kind of underestimate the Mavericks as they come in to these finals. I think the Mavericks are just a really nitty gritty team. They've been playing really well, and like we've already said up to this point, the fact that they're, like, in my opinion, they're playing some of the best basketball I've seen. Even when they're, down by 10 against Minnesota or Oklahoma or whatever, they're not out of it. They continue to fight tooth and nail. They get their points. They play defense. They keep the game, close enough so that when the fourth quarter comes, like, that's what matters. And they're within striking distance, 2-3 points coming into that fourth quarter. This is exactly what I hope and expect to see out of the Mavericks going into the finals against the Celtics team. The Celtics team has been number one in the NBA, and they've been the favorite to win these playoffs and win the finals, since before the bracket started. So I definitely think they're the team to beat, and the Mavs are going to have to, I don't want to necessarily say like find another gear in order to like keep up with these guys, but they're definitely going to be tested. And I think you're right. Having a guy like Kyrie Irving just absolutely, I'm not even sure the word I want to use here, but like just having all that experience and the championship mentality to help lead the Mavs and Luka through these finals, I think is going to be so vital. So I'm with you. This is going to be a great series. I really don't expect the Celtics to just roll over the Mavs like they have everybody else so far in the series. I'd absolutely love to see a Game 7 out of a Celtics-Mavs final. So down to the final seconds here. Stars game closing out 3, 2, 1.
I want to mention what Kenny had brought up, the Negro League stats being implemented into Major League Baseball, which I think is great.
Oh yeah, sorry, I saw that and I wanted to talk about it too.
Well, I want to talk about the comment itself in a second, but I think it's great because, I mean, it's arguably better talent than the MLB had back in the day. I mean, before integration, before Jackie Robinson crossed the color barrier, Major League Baseball had like 8 teams. It wasn't like when you see the Yankees winning every year or whatever, I'm like, it's a little bit different. Not that they weren't great teams, but it's much more difficult to win a championship now, obviously. But yeah, I think those stats are very relevant in the Negro Leagues because they had some of the best players in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, if not better. But Kenny, are you trying to start a fight here? Trigger warning. Who's triggered? Because it was funny. I have not seen anybody be upset about this. I thought I might okay, here we go. There's going to be some political something. Somebody's going to. Kenny, your comment is the only one that I've seen reference the fact that, hey, we should talk about this. So yeah, Kenny, I don't know what you're thinking. Are you upset about this?
Okay.
Yeah, is this triggering? Should this trigger somebody? I don't know. I have not thought once about that, but
man, I'm right there with you, Ashton. I think it's long overdue.
Oh, well, I mean, it was called the Negro League. That's what we're. That's what it is. I mean.
But I 100% agree with you in the sense that outside of identifying the Negro League because of the times and everything, these players from the Negro League and from Major League Baseball and everything should all be basically kept in the same record book,
The
home
same
runs, batting averages, all that stuff. Now, it is unfortunate that the two leagues were separate and everything, and I encourage anyone who has the opportunity to play MLB The Show. I believe 23 and 24 both have kind of a Negro League history portion of the game that you can play. That's really it's entertaining, it's fun, it teaches you about a lot of these players and how crazy talented they were, both as like pitchers and hitters, and some of them were two-way players. So they did it all, And I mean, honestly, I've always thought that it was a real shame that they weren't kind of kept in the same record book as some of these other players, because like you were saying, there were players in the Negro Leagues that were arguably as good as, if not better than, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, even Jackie Robinson. I personally think it's really interesting that Jackie Robinson wasn't actually the best player in the Negro Leagues when he was brought up, but he was brought up because he was more or less chosen as like the guy who could handle it.
And not for nothing though, the American and National League were completely separate leagues for a long time, and you can even argue up until like even the 90s. They had like your specific you're talking about the younger crowd, Kenny. I don't know if they would remember or even knew that there was a designated like weekend or a designated few days where you had interleague play. Yeah, I'll keep going. You had interleague play, so the National League and American League really didn't play each other until the World Series. And I don't remember when they officially merged, but for a long time, American League and National League were completely separate leagues. They merged. They still didn't play much. And now, because the Astros moved from the National League to the American League, there has to be at least an interleague game, interleague series at all times, because you have the odd number of teams, 15 and 15. And I don't even believe they call it interleague play anymore, just because it's normal. Every team plays every team. So to think that because it was a different league, you shouldn't keep the statistics, you should, because you kept them for so long. National League and American League did not play each other until the World Series. I don't remember when interleague play started, but I remember back in the 90s when it was still pretty rare that you maybe played two interleague teams a year. So I don't remember when it started, but when the only time you meet the American and National League teams meet is the World Series, for all intents and purposes, those are separate leagues. So if you're going to combine all those stats, you should combine Negro League stats as well. Now, obviously, there's a different reason that they were kept a separate league and all that trash that people had to deal with back in the day. But
yeah, that nonsense.
It is as great it is now that they're adding and combining the statistics now. You kind of wonder, like, not to start any kind of controversy, it was like, why are they just now doing it? It's not like the Negro League was like a minor league system or anything. It was professional baseball. Again, we've already alluded to, had just the same talent, if not better talent. And it would have been better, like, if you could have seen some of these players compete against Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, and all the way through the years up until the 50s, when you finally, had the color barrier broken, if you want to say that.
Yeah. Stuart Scott, we miss you. One of the best ones to ever do it.
Yeah, like I said, interleague play hasn't, like, American and National League teams just did not play except for the World Series. They may have officially been part of a league. I don't know when they merged. I mean, it was like the early 1900s, but they were separate leagues pretty much. I mean, that's why you have you still have AL, NL, MVP, and Cy Young. Like, you still keep that separate, but you still combine all the stats.
Yeah. I miss those days too, man, because I wanted to see an all Texas World Series so badly before Houston moved from the NL to the AL.
We got as close as you could now in having an all Texas ALCS.
Yeah. And that was awesome. I enjoyed that. Oh man, the DH. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a
lot of people that think DH is ruining baseball or ruined baseball. I don't know if I think that.
Yeah, that's another conversation for another day.
That's a whole other conversation. We're getting pretty far into it. So I'm going to get us into our last and final topic of the night. Final shout out to the Stars dropping this game for what was it, five 5-2, 5-3.
I didn't see the final one. They pulled their goalie and gave up a goal.
Yeah, so drop that one. Big important game 5 coming up for both the Rangers and the Panthers tomorrow night, and then the Stars and the Oilers will play their deuce game 5 on Friday, I believe. So big game 5s coming up in hockey.
And I bet you'll hear a lot of that tomorrow on Shut the Puck Up.
Oh, for sure. Shout out.
Hockey show. Yeah. We do what we can with hockey. I hope, I know Kenny has probably been frustrated listening to us discuss hockey, but if you're a hockey fan and you really want the really good coverage, check out Shut the Puck Up. Kenny, Reckless, and Adam will be giving you all the great hockey coverage there.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Adam too, man. I felt bad that he went to that game 1 and didn't get to see a win, but I'm sure the stadium was
tell your wife tell your wife to step up and get you another pair of tickets.
Right. I mean, well, at least that was the overtime loss, wasn't it? That game 1.
I'm trying to think. Was that the overtime
double loss? Right?
Yeah. Because they played 2 double overtime games back to back.
Yeah. So at least you got some free hockey out of it, you know. But I know I straight up said to Korri when we were watching the game, I was like, man, it sucks for Adam because I know I personally prefer to go to games where my team wins, and especially in a playoff game, you know, you want to see your team win.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he still had a blast, and I'm sure we'll hear about it some tomorrow night on Shut the Puck Up. Kenny, you got a time for your podcast yet? Have you set that? Ashton, do you know?
I don't know. I know he's trying Thursdays. Sometimes it happens Wednesdays. 2 overtime game. Got a game and
but 1.5 games for the cost of 1 ticket. That's what I'm saying right there.
I know if there were fans.
9 p.m. Central Time. Perfect. All right. So Shut the Puck Up. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time. Look out for them. They definitely talk better about hockey than we do. We are just Stars fans.
I wonder if there were any. I know it was in Colorado game, the other double overtime game. I wonder if there were any Stars fans that were at that game and game 1 in Dallas. Because if you do, you would get basically 3 games.
For the price of 2.
Because you had 2 double overtime games back to back, yeah.
Yeah.
Or really, I guess technically it would have been 3 games in a period, maybe.
Honestly, one of the things I remember from my earliest hockey days as a kid, I was in Michigan for the summer. I guess I would have been 10 or 12 because this is either 97 or 99. You'd probably be able to tell me, or Kenny, once I actually name the teams. But the Stars were playing the Red Wings, I believe. I can't remember if it was the Western Finals. I think it was the Western Finals, or it was the Stanley Cup. But they went to a Game 7. They played triple overtime, and the Stars won. The main reason I remember it was because I was watching with my grandpa. I was having a lot of fun, and then when they got into a second overtime period, I believe, if I remember correctly, my grandpa made me go to bed, and I was like, "Oh, but I want to watch the game." And he was like, "No, it's too late."
It must have been Western Conference. I think Detroit.
That's what I'm thinking it was. Yeah,
because 99. The Stars, yeah, Stars played the.
That's what I thought it was. 99, just before they won the.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember watching that game. It was Game 7, and I didn't actually find out it was triple overtime until the next morning. We read it in the paper. That's how long ago this was. And my grandpa immediately went, "Triple overtime? That's like 2 full games." And it made me laugh.
It is 2 full games, pretty much.
Yeah, he was like, "Man, anybody that was at that game really, really got a good deal, you know." But yeah, it always made me laugh, and that's one of my favorite memories with my grandpa. Rest in peace. We miss you, big guy. But let's get into this last topic I got for us here. Dak Prescott came out last week, day after our podcast, and said, "I don't play for money." I got plenty to say on this. So, Ashton, go ahead and kick us off. You got thoughts about this?
I mean,
I don't play for money.
It's clearly his I'm a team player, all that jazz. And I know it's hard to blame the players when they hold out for money because really, I mean, they have to look out for all the other players association gets mad at them when they don't hold out for more money, when they take pay cuts, team-friendly deals, because it hurts the rest of the market and everything. And to an extent it does. But he's just saying BS, whatever, I'm a team player, because when it comes down to it, it is going to be about money. If Jerry Jones says, okay, your market value price says you're worth $55 million, but we need you to take $30 million. Is he going to sign for $30 million? Say, hey, you're still making $30 million a year.
Right.
He's not going to. And if he ends up leaving the Cowboys after next season and going to free agency, it'll be another Kirk Cousins-like situation, but, even more, because Dak is more talented than Kirk Cousins is at this point. He's probably getting $60 million if he doesn't get $60 million with the Cowboys. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's BS. I don't even know why you come out and say that, because it kind of hurts your negotiating skills. It makes you look like an idiot to the fans who are already calling your BS, as I assume you're about to allude to. And
absolutely, I am.
If he takes anything more than $45 million, if the Cowboys do extend him or re-sign him, then it just makes him look like a hypocrite. So I'm not sure what he gets out of making these comments, unless he actually goes and takes a pay cut in a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And to be honest, I can't help but feel like, man, I'm going to be pretty blue here. This asshole coming out and saying like something so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't play for money. Bro, every single player in the NFL is playing for money. Like, that's why they're here, right? And as much as any guy wants to tell me like, oh, I want to win a championship, I want to win a Super Bowl, and I can believe you, but I know you're not going to do it for free. I know damn well you're not going to do it for free. No player in the NFL is. I don't care if you're a starter or a third stringer. You're not doing it for free, right? The whole point was to get to the league and get paid. You want to make the big bucks, even if it's league minimum, So to come out and be like the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys and to say something as stupid as, I don't play for money, how stupid do you think we are? And on top of that, like, are you saying this because you like let the Cowboys adjust your contract or your pay or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, from the $60 million to $55 million so that they take a little less cap hit this year and can pay some other players? Bro, you're not making that much of a difference, like, in this cap scale, So like, I don't understand like what you think is appropriate about this, especially considering the fact that you just held out for the contract that you're finishing up right now. We talked about this before, but Dak held out for like a couple of months to get the 4-year, $160 million contract that he wanted right after he broke his leg. And I've said this before, I feel like I'm bringing stuff up from the, from a podcast we did a few months ago, but like, has Dak Prescott even been worth that 4-year, $160 million price tag that we paid? Just throwing these stats out there, right? Dak has been in the league playing for the Cowboys for 9 years. He's been paid $190 plus million. I believe the number is like $196.2 million, right? He's number 6 in career earnings among active quarterbacks. He's won, or, not even one. He's been in 0 conference championship games. He's been in 0 Super Bowls, and his playoff record is 2-5. You think that's worth $160 million over 4 years? And he's going to want more than that because Jared Goff just got a 4-year contract for $212 million. So I have to assume that's kind of the minimum that Dak's looking for right now. And is he worth that? With a 2-5 playoff record? That makes no sense to me. I personally am fine with Jerry Jones, like, making him play out this season again. We'll see what happens. Unfortunately, I can't imagine we'll let Dak go. He is, in fact, good enough that someone will pick him up. Someone will pay him. It's going to happen. And you almost can't leave the Cowboys in a position to like not have, because I mean, what's our backup situation here? Trey Lance. How confident are you that Trey Lance can like really step in and run this offense? You know what I mean?
Not much.
Yeah. So, it feels like such a dark situation, and kind of to the point that you were saying, it feels like this is just something Dak Prescott was trying to say to be like a man of the people, and like, oh, I love the Cowboys so much. And it's like, bro, if that was the case, then you'd be doing this for free. But no one in the league does that. No one loves this game so much that they would not get paid to play.
I'll put in my thoughts while Dan wipes the blood off his mouth.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Is Dak's contract worth it? I mean, in the terms of you have a salary cap, it's not. I mean, in terms of making money, the difference between having Dak Prescott or Cooper Rush or Trey Lance on this team, I mean, Dak Prescott's going to make more than $50-60 million for the Cowboys. So in that sense, on the money part, he's worth it. You could pay your quarterback $100 million and it would be worth it. But because there's a salary cap, you're taking such a big percentage of it is the only reason we care that he makes money. Like, there was no salary cap, pay Dak $200 million a year if you want. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just a bunch of BS stuff he's saying, and I don't know. I guess to appease fans, I don't know anybody saying, "Hey, look what he said. This is great. He's our quarterback." And then I think the Cowboys have done a terrible job in terms of timing with signing a lot of their players, because you could have, back when Dak signed for $40 million a year, that $160 million contract, you could have, his agent offered before that season like $31 million a year, which we all thought was way too much then, but you could have got him for $9 million less a year. And now, unless you're just going to let him go, re-signing him, you're going to re-sign him for more. The same with CeeDee Lamb. You probably should have given him the extension. Now he wants to wait till see what happens with Jefferson, and now you're kind of going to be kind of screwed. They've done bad jobs in timing. Look at Zeke. Give him a big contract because he holds out. You should have just let him hold out a little bit longer. I don't know what's going to happen, but if Dak Prescott's still playing for this team in 2 years, he's not making less than $50 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are already in a pretty shit position with Dak right now. He does have the no trade clause, the no franchise clause. Man, and just throwing this out there, I happen to write this down too. I mentioned Dak is number 6 in career earnings among active quarterbacks. The 5 ahead of him: Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. And 4 of those 5 players that I just named have been to either a conference championship or a Super Bowl.
I think all 5 of them have played in a Super Bowl.
Kirk Cousins.
No, I'm thinking Matt.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan is who I'm thinking of. Now he's a Falcons quarterback.
Yeah,
but 4 of them have played, because Goff has played in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, even Goff's been to a Super Bowl, and he just took the Lions to the NFC Championship. So, I mean, the fact
but
that
Kirk Cousins has
arguably he's done more to earn the contract that he just signed than Dak Prescott's done in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and I guess you can count Kirk Cousins as, I mean, he didn't play in a conference championship. He was hurt, but the Vikings made it to a conference championship.
Right. They had a great run with Kirk Cousins. I mean, he performed.
And he got injured. He got injured in the playoffs.
He did what he got paid to do.
Yeah.
And it just feels like we've been paying Dak to do nothing. 0 conference championships appearances, 0 Super Bowl appearances, 2-5 in the playoffs. That's an insane statistic to me for a guy that's being paid top dollar among NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because the main thing you're paying these guys to do is run an offense and win games. But damn it, if he just how many interceptions did he throw in that game against Green Bay this year? It's like 3 interceptions or something, wasn't it? In the first round of the playoffs. It's like, what are we doing here?
2. One of them was a pick 6.
Yeah.
But they want to say, hey, we came back and only lost by, I don't know, 12 points, whatever it was. They did score a lot at the end, but
right, yeah, because
do that at the beginning.
Whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
You weren't in the game.
The Packers had a lot of their backups in,
yeah,
or just weren't playing. Yeah, garbage time doesn't, and that's what a lot of Dak stats are too, is garbage time.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's funny. The main thing I think of really is if I was Jerry Jones, I would probably also be just letting Dak play through this last year in his contract. I'm not going to give him a new contract probably before honestly, I probably wouldn't give him a new contract before like December, you know, and arguably even after that, because he's going to need, you know, him getting me a winning record. Chris and I had talked about the record we thought that the Cowboys could manage to pull off this next season. I think I said like a 13-4 type season. I actually think the Cowboys could do fairly well on the schedule incoming. I think Chris said 12 wins, but still a 12 or 13, 14 win season out of Dak Prescott is just not going to impress me if he can't win a playoff game.
Yeah.
I'm going to need, and not even just one playoff game at this point, I'm going to need him to get me to the NFC Championship minimum if he's going to want a contract anything close to Jared Goff's 4 years, $212 million.
Well,
Jared Goff's 5-3 in the playoffs. The complete opposite.
You have to take into account too of his current contract that if you don't extend him, you're going into next season with like a $50 million cap hit, $40-something million cap hit.
Oh, for sure.
Not have him play. And I know people are like,
well, just get him. When they restructured his contract this year, but
you can break it out over certain. But that is a factor. It's like you just want to rip the Band-Aid off and probably suck next year because you're probably not going to have a good quarterback at all or the year after next. And you're not going to be able to really do anything free agency. You're having to figure something out with Micah's contract, CD's contract. Because by the time you eat that dead cap, you really don't have much left after that because now you're re-signing all these players. Maybe TV contracts go up and cap will go up some. But man, that purgatory hell between Aikman and Romo. I know we like to nag on Romo and Prescott, but there's some really bad QB purgatory. We did. And there's some franchises, I mean, the Jets have been in it forever.
Yeah.
You know.
And honestly, the situation the Cowboys are in right now makes me very, very worried for the potential of their future. Because kind of like what you're saying right now, we're not exactly like prepared to just replace Dak Prescott. But he's not winning either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's keeping them relevant. And I think, honestly, I don't think Jerry Jones cares much about Super Bowls because he's won 3 and I'm sure he'd be.
I mean, I have to think Jerry wants one. I mean, well, I've heard him say in an interview before that he definitely wants another Super Bowl. Yeah,
but as long as the Cowboys are relevant, he's still making tons of money. I think that's.
Oh well, that's for sure. I mean,
he would care about. Kenny, name the last Lions QB to win a playoff game. You talk about before last year. Jared Goff won one last year. This year. I don't think it was John Kitna because it was 1991.
No, I'm just joking. John Kitna was terrible. John Kitna's
it was Barry Sanders
defeated record with the Lions 0-16.
Before this year, before they won the playoffs this year, I think it was 1991. Last time they won with Barry Sanders, they'd beaten the Cowboys in the playoffs. I couldn't tell you who that. I couldn't tell you who that quarterback was.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But shout out Matt Stafford. I always really liked Matt Stafford. Tough quarterback, knows the game, very knowledgeable, and I was super pumped for him when he got to the Rams and everything, and he managed to win that Super Bowl. Who is also from Dallas, if you didn't know.
Highland Park,
that's right. So
yeah, kind of like a Belichick Brady thing. Like who was it, Belichick or Brady? It's the same with Stafford. Who was holding who back? Was it Stafford or was it the Lions? And apparently it was the Lions because first year.
Yeah, first year away.
Just like Brady, first year away, you win a Super Bowl. So a lot of factors into that. But
yeah, so I mean, I've always really liked Stafford, especially that they got that big highlight fourth quarter of him getting his shoulder separated and then
against the Browns,
throwing one more pass and fully dislocating his shoulder.
Yeah, I think it was against the Browns. He came out of the game. The Browns called the timeout, gave him the opportunity to come back in the game, and threw the game-winning touchdown. Yeah,
and then he's like, "I can throw it if you need me to throw it." Then throws one pass, and he's like, "It's out, it's out." So I mean, I've always liked Matt Stafford, gritty kid, great player. But yeah, I guess that's the end of my Dak Prescott whining and crying.
Well,
I really hope Jerry just puts him on ice until he can prove himself, and it's going to have to be this season, and especially coming off the career season that he just had last year. We'll see what happens, but
Dan, the last time you ranted on Dak Prescott was the very first show you were on, and the Cowboys went off and won. A lot.
Yeah, then they went off to win
very straight
6 games after that. Yeah.
Yeah, it ended up winning the division, and yeah, they wet the bed in the playoffs. But hey,
it's fine, man. Prove me wrong. Make me feel like shit for.
Yeah, maybe they. I mean, whatever. I know the game. They don't have any games for a while, but maybe they rattle off some. Maybe some good signings. I don't know what could happen. Maybe some of their rookies do really well. Maybe Mozzie Smith finally does something in training camp to make you feel good. I don't know.
We do have
history says when you complain about Dak, Cowboys start doing better.
Well, I'll keep it up then. Cowboys definitely got some big talent returning on both sides of the ball. So I have high hopes for the Cowboys. It's Dak Prescott that it's always a question mark for me.
I
can't call him a good quarterback. It's just not. It's not in me. On paper,
regular season. You say it's a good regular season quarterback.
Sure.
Outside of any major injuries, the Cowboys should win at least 10 or 11 games. Their ceiling's much higher than that. But they're probably making the playoffs this year, and that's about it.
I totally agree. They should absolutely win 10 games this year at least. Like I said, I put him. I'm pretty sure I put him on 13, and Chris had put him on 12. But it seems like not the worst schedule. There's definitely some tough games there earlier in the season. I believe we're playing like Baltimore, like week 3. Kick off the season with like Cleveland or something. So like a nice, easy slack ass school to beat up on in that week 1 game. And I think we play the Giants week 2 or something like that. But yeah, so I have high hopes for the Cowboys. It's always going to be Dak Prescott for me. I've never been convinced. I've never been sold on him. But I'll keep talking my shit, hoping he hears me and he just outperforms everything that I've ever talked about him doing, and maybe he earns that.
With comments like making comments like I don't play for money. I don't think he's going to get. See this and get in the mood to perform better. But I don't know. I don't personally know Dak Prescott, so who knows? Shout out, Dak. We love you. You just make too much money. I think you're a good quarterback. I think you're a good quarterback. I think you can lead this team to good. I just think you make too much money.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Definitely make too much. All right.
Oh, man.
Well, as we go to get out of here, then I'm gonna let us close out on a little tribute video, I guess.
Do it, Angel.
This week, but thank you for everything you didn't do for us, Angel Hernandez. We love you. Nobody's gonna miss you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Be sure to follow us on all social media at Peak One Sports. I am Dan Boyer, aka Neon Super Shrimp. Ashton Nick's there underneath me this time, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, it's easy to point correctly now.
Right? Yeah, up and down.
That'd be pretty weird if I pointed up and it was like camera was pointing down. That'd be trippy.
This is the one thing I mentioned too. Right. Bryce Harper upset. Oh, no, sorry, that wasn't Bryce Harper.
Got him, strike 3. The 2020 season.
Yeah, see, it's easy to throw videos out like this. I'm not defending Hernandez, but man, if you had a video montage of all my worst moments, all my worst sports takes or something,
Hernandez on third base,
I would look like an idiot too.
Probably. All right, y'all. Thanks, guys.
Peace out.